I've done, but there is more to me than just the church work that I've done. And this show is all of me. So we're going to talk about movies. We're going to talk about music. We're going to talk about politics, about how I feel about the Second Amendment and my guns, and how we're going to talk about some other things. I've got some other guests lined up. They're going to come in and sit down and chat and talk about some other stuff. Some of it may be controversial, maybe off-putting to some people. We may cuss now and then. And you know what? That's who I am. It's what comes out of my brain. So I've censored myself in the past for the sake of other people, for the honor, not to be false. Because you've heard me in messages, and everybody who's tuned into my church channel knows they've heard me on messages say that I cuss, but I didn't cuss in the channel. You want to read the? Yeah, read the sign for me, Tony.
So you can see it in the shot. Obviously, it says, "Notice this place is politically incorrect."
Incorrect.
Yes,
sir.
We say Merry Christmas, one nation under God. We salute our flag and give thanks to our troops.
Yeah.
If this offends you, leave.
So I'm giving everybody the disclaimer. Love everybody. Love you all. But again, this isn't a church. This isn't my church program. This is a program of me sharing whatever's on my mind. And if that shit bothers you, then I'm sorry. So here we go. We're going to talk about what it takes to do a podcast to begin with, because we had a bunch of stuff that we prepared before we got up here, and it was, in your vernacular, a dumpster fire.
It turned into an absolute dumpster fire.
So we've done at least 4 hours. We did a 3-hour test, or 3-hour recording last night.
3.5 hours.
Yeah, and the audio didn't come through.
We're still trying to recover it.
We did a half an hour about 2 hours ago, just to do like a preview thing, just to sit down and do it.
Quick test.
And the first 2 times we did it, the audio, or we recorded it, and it was okay, and then we went back and listened to the audio, and it was pegged off the charts, kept distorted. So we were able to get the audio in the editor back to where it's supposed to be, but we didn't have time to re-upload it. We uploaded it once, and we're like, so this is officially the first episode of This Is My Brain.
Yep.
I don't know if I'll do the number 1 episode. I don't know if I'm going to do those, or just, it helps people to know which ones,
Well, I mean, especially when you've got, specific content of, hey, did you catch the episode?
Right.
Which one? They're all labeled the same. So when you get to, where I've been doing this for, 3 years, and we're 110 episodes in.
Right.
On Don't Make This Weird. We're 16, 17 episodes in on Survivor Girl.
Right.
And we're 15 or 16 episodes on Mitch's Fake Radio.
Well, and
you have to label that stuff.
Well, what I used to do with the church channel was I would label whatever the message was. And if it was part 1, part 2, part 3, whatever. Mm-hmm. And then I would also put the date on it.
Right.
And that was how I did those instead of doing episodes, because it was church services, And I've been doing church services on HFTC there was uploads, and then there was services that we live streamed for about 8 years, 7, 8 years.
When I scrolled back and looked through all of the files earlier today,
it
was like 8.5 years of you doing uploads on HFTC.
And so there's a ton of them on there, and I welcome anybody that's tuning into HFTC. I know the notice goes out for those that are subscribers, and I appreciate you guys coming in. I just want to make sure everybody understands this is my brain, and so this is not your typical church show. But you know what? I'm modulating a lot. I am, because I want to, how many times outside of church that I have interacted with people and helped people being real. We talked about it earlier in one of the previous recordings, if it ever goes up, about having a beer with somebody, doing some stuff like that. So are we up on Don't Make This Weird?
That's what I was trying to see, because I just shared the link from HFTC TV.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that it's actually doing what it's supposed to be doing. Yep. So there's it live.
Okay.
And I don't know, Nate, are we on Don't Make This Weird right now? Okay.
So we're on both?
I'm going to go to Don't Make This Weird and see what we got.
That's the cross-pollination of the
That's right.
the multitude of platforms we have.
We're not above shameless promotion.
No.
I don't have nothing, buddy.
Yeah, for home screen, yeah.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
You sure it's unlisted or public?
He's checking.
He's
All right,
checking.
and this is what we've, first show, we did a lot of preparation trying to make sure.
Talking about that, I'm like, where you at, man? Where's your head? You're like, well, it's first show, and the Titanic sank on its first voyage, and we're not sinking.
Yeah. I mean, as long as we don't lose 1,500 people around the North Atlantic, I guess we're doing good.
Right. I'm going to smash that iceberg like a 1-up.
So you do all your preparation, and then you just dive in and go with it. That's what happens. So, but that's what we want to do is we want to share. I wanted to have my voice. I've been on your show. I've been on Survivor Girl, and so we're hearing in the background that they're checking
Clean audio. That's nice.
Audio. Yeah, we had that audio issue. We're like, we're gonna figure this thing out. And we've got a lot. I mean, I think we got a good setup going. It looks nice.
Yeah.
But you always
I just did the table shot.
You did the table shot?
You did the table shot.
Nice. So there's a few more things that I still want to do before we get everything locked down in here, but I think we're doing good. So one of the things that I was really meditating on, you and I were talking about, and you were picking my brain over the last month because we tried to do this a month ago. We tried to do it a couple months ago. You and I sat down for after the St. Patty's Day party we had here.
Yeah.
And we recorded about 7.5, 8 hours of.
Yeah, it was closer to 9, but yeah.
Yeah. And so we put together a lot of content. And Ben, if we have a table shot, Ben has snuck over there.
Yeah.
He's I can see him.
His head is right there.
He's right there. Ben's in the yellow. He's in yellow. He says, hello. Yeah. Come sit next to. No, don't sit next to me. So, hi, buddy.
Go away.
Go away. So, Ben's got some editing to do on those videos that we put together. But
and tell your listeners about what was actually, one of the reasons why we didn't have this stuff together, because, it's technical issues. Ben was hustling from last night after doing all of the intro stuff that we shot.
Yeah.
We did, 10, 12 different...
we did literally several shots all set up, and he was trying to get them to... We did a test shot.
Yeah.
And that's actually in the computer if we wanted to, but I don't want to mess with anything. But we did. Ben and I did a test shot.
Yeah.
First of the week. So Monday, I think it was Monday or Tuesday, we did a test shot. And I came in and did most of the blocking.
Yeah.
Right? And he shot it on his cell phone.
Yep.
And we did it. And I'm walking into the man cave and walking across, walking over to the fridge, opening the fridge. We had the phone in the fridge.
Yep.
Close the fridge, pour myself a Di Serono, and then cut. And I'm like, okay, that's what we want to do. Now when Tony gets here, we'll do the same shots.
Right.
And we'll be at the bar together. And we did it nice for everybody. I wanted it to be a beautiful presentation.
Yeah.
And Ben says, I got this. He left last night. He's going to go edit it. I get the text today, and he goes, my computer crashed. I'm going to have to come to the man cave and use yours. Mm-hmm. He gets here a couple hours before the show, sits down with my laptop, and it freezes up. How many? About 10 times, Ben? At least?
Oh, it straight up crashed.
Yeah. It just.
Like the screen went white.
Yeah. It was like waiting for program to respond. Well, so.
Oh, yeah.
He finally answers. That's awesome. So, anyways, we had a whole bunch of stuff, and that's part of it. Life is like that. Life is one test after another, and whatever you encounter, it's like how well do you do against that? How well do you persevere through that? Because we're doing the show. Mm-hmm. We had the counter all set up on here, and we were going to do 15-minute counter so that the show was so that the stream was up, and everybody could see the links and share the links for a good 10 minutes before we even got rolling. And we started at like 8:01 with a 2-minute counter to give it time. And I'm like, all right.
Well, and what's cool about this is on this platform, we're obviously using YouTube because it's free streaming.
Right.
Now, the cool part about this is you can interact with us on the chat.
Absolutely.
And we actually have someone in the chat
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Candy's in the chat.
Miss Candy Ray, who is she does the Facebook page 6 Degrees of Truth Serum,
Absolutely.
which is an incredible page. If you guys get a chance to check that out, go check it out.
Yep.
It's an awesome page. It's
Yep.
a lot of that positivity, uplifting stuff.
Yep.
'Cause we all
She's
know
up well over 200.
Yeah, I think she
people on
said
the
she was
page.
202, 203, something
Yeah.
like that. But she says, "Congrats, Jeremy, on
Thank
your maiden voyage."
Thank you, Candy. It's wonderful to finally be at this point because, again, this is me sharing my brain, and I wanted to. There's so many subjects that we want to discuss, and
Yeah.
I got bogged down with the editing, and then Ben came into my life. He also works full time for me doing construction, but he's like. When we're setting up the live stream, he's like, "I'll do the lights, and I'll shoot some of the footage walking in." He goes, and I'm like, "Well, how about when we're doing the live stream?" He's like, "Yeah," and I goes, "Well, Nate's coming down,
Right.
And Nate's phenomenal at the live stream, doing the
Yeah.
switching from the scenes, and he's like, yeah, because I just want to take the stuff and go home and edit. That's what I like doing." I'm like, okay, all right. Take the
Well,
stuff
he
and go
had
home
one
and
job and he failed, so we're gonna have to deduct his pay.
edit. 0 from 0 is
-0.
0. I think he owes me. All right. So, anyways, we're getting this.
Love you, Ben.
He's going to hear that in about 10 seconds after the delay
Of course.
because he's listening to headphone monitoring the sound.
Yeah.
So he'll get that right about
Now.
Yeah. He's you guys can't see that. He nodded right over the couch.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome. So, we talked about the preparation. We talked about the disclaimer. We got everybody on board.
Yeah.
The thing that I was meditating on, and you and I had discussed it for a while, was love.
Yeah.
And I really want to talk about that because you and I have always talked about that.
Yeah.
In John it says God is love.
Right.
1 John, and throughout the Gospel of John, it talks about how God, just love is apparent there. And when I sit down and look at it, I'm like, man, love is such a misunderstood concept,
Yep.
and it's really bastardized and polluted in so many ways. In a world mindset, love really boils down to lust. I want, oh, I love you. No, you just want to hook up.
Right.
And in the church, love is this fine line of God, for God so loved the world that he gave his one and only son. And it's like, but if you make a mistake today,
Mm-hmm.
he's going to pounce on you and go, that's,
Right.
and I tempered myself with, I'm like, wait a minute, man. I'm like, Lord, why would you send your son to the cross to be crucified and brutalized for me?
Right.
And then be pissed if I do something like, say, pissed. Or if I does it make any sense? Does it make any sense? And then
No.
there's this hellfire and brimstone type of rhetoric. It's like,
Yep.
you're using fear tactics. And Scripture says he's not giving us a spirit of fear, but a power, love,
Yep.
and sound mind or self-discipline, right?
Well, and I think a lot of the issue that most people have is they don't truly understand what the definition of love is. And there's many different types,
Yeah.
and you have to define those. And if you go with the origin, I mean, what was it? Webster, Merriam-Webster, not Merriam-Webster,
Yeah, no Webster.
Daniel Webster.
No Webster.
No, Webster, yeah, thank you.
Webster's 1828 dictionary?
Yes.
No Webster.
If you go by the original context and definition, I think it's something like 4 big, ginormous essay-typed paragraphs
Yeah.
in defining what love is. And
Right.
now, a cool little tidbit about Noah Webster, he knew the Bible's backwards and forwards. He dictated it from memory
Right.
and wrote it
Right.
all the time.
It's a book of Eli shit.
Right. Yeah, straight up. Just like, all right, cool.
Yeah. He's like, so where is this Bible?
Right.
Get some paper.
But the cool part about that is, if it takes essay-sized paragraphs to discover or to define this, like phileo,
Right.
everybody thinks Philadelphia, city of
Brotherly love. Right.
Right.
That's what it means.
right, and you go like the
It's a straight up Greek word, Philadelphia.
right, and then you look at stuff like euros, which is like, I love you
Right.
because I'm paying $3.99 a minute.
Right. Love.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you look at like agape.
Of course, the unconditional.
Right. Now, most people, they truly don't understand what unconditional is. And I mean, to
Right.
me, you and I, obviously, for years have had the brotherly love.
Yes.
We were happy, we were sad, we were, on good terms, on bad terms, we fought, that's
Right.
what brothers do.
Absolutely.
And there's the good, bad, and the ugly through the whole gamut of stuff.
Yeah.
We'll love each other twice as hard and still, take each other and.
Well, it says Proverbs says a friend loves it all time, but a brother is born for adversity.
Right.
And so when you're a friend and a brother,
Right.
then you love me all the time. And if we have some
Iron sharpens iron.
if we have some conflict between us, or
Right.
if we have some conflict and we band together
Right.
in battle, I mean that's really the concept is brothers born for adversity. So when
Right.
you're in the shit, you want your brother, but at the same time you might get into it with your brother because I know so many stories of.
That goes back to what we were talking about on Don't Make This Weird. Is the funny part about it is, we're what was it, the Island of Misfit Toys.
Right.
And I think it's so funny because we will haze the crap out of each other on that show.
Yeah.
Someone that is not part of the family, part of the tribe,
Part of the tribe, yeah. They don't get
jumps in and just like, you got all of us on you because, we protect our own,
Yeah.
we take care of our own,
Exactly.
We may haze the crap out of you, but that's
Yeah.
because we truly, sincerely love you.
Absolutely.
And it's not
And
about,
overall, everybody's a positive people.
Right.
That's a big difference too.
Right.
You get around a group of people and they're always after each other, and you go, yeah, but you don't like each other.
Right.
You don't even like yourselves. So when you do it, it's kind of mean.
Right.
When we do it, it's loving and
I look at Nate, and I got to dote on Nate because he's
phenomenal.
worked with us for 18 months. I
Give
think.
yourself a shot there, Nate.
That's right. Show us that fine Asian.
There's the Asian. I don't see it.
I don't see it either.
Where's the delay?
That's the 10-second delay.
Oh.
But anyways, to dote on Nate for a minute, the fact that he was, and the
There it is. Wow.
term has been
The station
coined several times over of my place is a sanctuary for wayward souls.
Right.
Well, Nate was one of those wayward souls, and he's like, "Hey, man, teach me what you guys are doing. I
Yeah.
think this is really cool."
Right.
And we haze the crap out of him, but this dude works harder than any 17-year-old kid I have met
Yeah.
because he's the first one in the studio.
Yep.
When it comes to showtime, he's generally the last one to leave after everything is cleaned up, cables. The session's shut down, the cameras are all put away.
Right.
And, he's a hard worker. I mean, the minute we came down here,
Yeah.
it's like, hey,
absolutely.
I'm going to go out and smoke. And he's like, I got to get to work, man. And I'm just, dude, you are hungry.
Absolutely.
I love the hell out of you for that.
Yeah.
Because without having Nate as ready and as eager and as zealous as he is,
Right.
I couldn't do what it is that I do.
Right.
And, I showed him all the ropes, how to do lines. We go out and do, live shows, and he's constantly throwing lines for me.
Right.
While I'm, grabbing some of the gear. And
Yeah. So he's roadieing and doing all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's incredible because he's like, all right, cool, you got this, you got this, you got this. And then it's amazing to see someone that's hungry that, and he used to be the lowly intern. And I mean no disrespect by that.
Right.
But now he's, the engineer for the Survivor Girl podcast.
Right.
And it's incredible to watch that kind of metamorphosis of being, you remember when you were a teenager?
Yeah.
You thought you had the world by the balls and had it all figured out, right?
Of course.
Granted, our naivety went either I'm stupid or I'm incredibly smart, but I am one single-minded
Doing
direction
this.
here. Yeah, I'm doing this
Yeah.
regardless. And he's showing me stuff on the program that we use for a lot of these split screens and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how did you do that? Like, ooh, okay, so you were there for the 100th episode
Yep.
of Don't Make This Weird.
Right.
A couple episodes later, he's like, hey, check this out, boss. And he's all click, click, click. And then there's like
Scrolls going
scrolling
across.
animated text.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's cool. How do you do that? And I'm pretty tech savvy because I
Right.
use all kinds of interfaces and software and hardware and stuff like that. because I'm an engineer. That's what I do.
Right.
And he's just like, oh, look at that.
Check it out.
And he did it in one show. It was so cool. He's like, watch this. We were live, and we had the wrong date in the scrolling text. So he goes,
Because on the fly and
on the fly, changes it, and like blink, and it was done. And I'm going, this is so cool, man.
Absolutely. I threw a few of them at him, a few curveballs at him today.
Yeah.
With the countdown calendar, or countdown timer, and then the thing. I mean, we literally got those
Right.
half an hour before we went live.
Well, and I say all of that because it's an example for me that if he was my son, I mean, he might as well be.
Exactly.
You know, I love him as his son, and I
Yeah.
dote on him as much as I possibly can because I'm proud of him that he's accomplished all of this in
Absolutely.
such a short amount of time as we're all growing and we're all learning. You know, it's a collective effort
Right.
of, yeah, okay, you're going to do some stuff that's going to piss me off, but I love you
Right.
with every ounce of my being.
And that's what we're talking about. Is
Right.
what is real love? I remember this story. You've heard me tell it before, but I remember I'm in high school, and I went from ninth grade. I went from the public school, 10th grade, to the private school.
Right.
This private Christian school, which remain unnamed. And I had one of the teachers there. Was a very, most of them were very staunch. It was that type of environment. They were very staunch Christian, environments. And I'm like, okay. And he tells this story. He was like patting himself on the back, congratulating him, and he's like, yeah, I was at the store the other day, and this lady came up, and she's struggling and trying to reach this case of beer off the top shelf. And I'm like, I'm waiting and I'm listening. And he goes, she looked at me and goes, she goes, sir, will you help me get that? And he goes, I'm a Christian. And wouldn't grab it for her, right?
Wow.
And she goes, so am I. That's what her response was, so am I. I'm a Christian too.
Right.
And he's like, he marches off, and she figures out how to get the case of beer down. And I'm like, I've always remembered that story because I'm like, what a dick.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a Christian. Listen, your standards as a Christian don't equate to other people. And here's the thing.
Right.
The Gospel of John, Jesus' first miracle that his mother brought him, she forced him into. He's like, in fact, he goes, woman, why do you involve me in this?
Right.
She's like, they're out of wine. We're at a wedding feast. They're out of wine. Take care of it.
Right.
And then she doesn't even ask if that's cool. She just turns to the servants and goes, do what he says. Right? And he changed. Then, and you go, well, and I've watched them squirm and go, well, that was grape juice. Or that was, I'm like, dude, it literally says in the text, this grape juice fermented very nicely.
No. This is Cabernet.
Cabernet.
In fact, it's 2017.
Nice. It's a nice.
Oh, dude, it's tasty.
This is not wine.
Cheers.
I'm about to. I'll do that with this.
Right.
My water.
You don't drink a toast with water.
You're right.
Doing that, just let you know, comments are going up.
On where?
On where?
Let's see, I can read them off for you. This says, hello guys,
Hello, Heather.
Oh, we are live. Holy cow.
great job guys. Dawn says, two of my favorite guys, the third is not on camera, and Nate hand over so he can show himself.
Yeah.
Roxanne says, really enjoying this, and Heather says, hey, I can see the comments now.
Nice. There they are.
Yeah, we are live.
Excellent. Love all you guys in the chat. We got
Please share.
Yeah,
that
share the link. Yeah. And so I'm now poured. Cheers, my friend.
Salute.
Oh, Becky just said hello all.
Hello, Becky.
Hello, Becky.
That's Pepper Potts.
Pepper. Yes, she is. So anyway, Jesus turns this water into wine.
Yeah.
Okay. And they go, well, maybe it was grape. I mean, I watched them do acrobatical moves trying to diffuse this, and I go, wait a minute.
Dude, they're religious ninjas.
They are. And I go, I'm like, what the hell are you talking? I'm like, it says the husband of the banquet, the father, comes to Jesus and goes, dude, what are you trying to do?
Right.
Normally, you bring out the cheaper wine after everybody's had too much to drink.
Right.
You save the best wine till last.
Right.
So, in context, he said, everybody's already quite lit.
Right.
And you bring out the best wine? You should have brought out crap wine because everybody's already lit and wouldn't know the difference.
Right.
So what you take from that context is Jesus turned water into wine. Not only did he do that,
Right.
but he did it when everybody at the banquet was already pretty well drunk.
Jesus knew how to party.
Exactly. And but I go back to that story and I go, here's somebody who their position was alcohol is bad.
Right.
Alcohol. And I go, no, imbalance, a lack of moderation is bad.
Right.
When you're not in control
Exactly.
of yourself, when you're not in a place where you're moderating.
Well, what's the saying that you always say when everybody comes down here and finds out the dirty little secret that you're a pastor and you got a drink in your hand? You say, I drink.
Because I'm happy.
Right.
Well, it's from an essay by G.K. Chesterton.
Right.
Look it up. It's
I'm gonna drink
It's
this.
either Dogma or Heretics.
I hate it when my karma runs over my dogma.
Right. So when you look up either one of those essays, they're free online because it's passed beyond there. But in one of his essays, it's a collection of his essays. But there, make sure you don't dribble that. Need a napkin. But in one of his essays, he talks about it. It's spirits, something in the spirits. Anyways, he's talking about
Right.
drinking alcohol. Well,
Right.
back then, he was writing this in the turn of the century, so the late 1800s,
Right.
early 1900s. He's writing this essay, and they still used alcohol for medicinal purposes.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't have anesthesia and stuff like that. So if you were going in for surgery or something, they would give you alcohol a lot of times but there were complications with that because it thins your blood. So, anyways, he's writing in there, and really the whole essay is about, look, if you need alcohol, don't do it.
Right.
If drinking alcohol makes you feel normal,
Yeah.
you've got an issue, and you need to figure out how to get normal.
Right.
But if you feel normal throughout the course of your day,
Right.
then you're the one who should enjoy an adult beverage because
Right.
you're going extra normal. You're just enjoying yourself. I'm having a drink right now, and we had some drinks last night.
Yeah.
But I'll go a whole week without anything. It's not a necessity in my life. It's something I enjoy.
Up until last night, I think the last time we were down here, which was what, Labor Day,
Yeah.
I think that was the last time I actually had any sort of alcohol.
Yeah.
And,
So going back to the point, the whole point is, here's this person who thinks that they're doing the righteous thing and being a righteous person. And when somebody inquires of them, will you give me a hand
right.
grabbing this, some beer, and they go, no, I'm a Christian. It's just like, and he was up there literally sharing. What's amazing to me is that he
Right.
did it in the first place. But secondly, he was sharing the story like it was a badge of honor. And I'm like, you're a dick, dude. Why don't you just grab that stuff?
Look, you biased asshole.
It's the same guy who it's the same type of person that the bum on the street is asking for some money, and they go, oh, I'm not going to give you any money.
Right.
Because you'll just go buy alcohol with it. And you go, are you supposed to give him money or not? Just give him the money.
Right.
If you're not supposed to, because there's people that scam, of course.
Of course.
So have some discernment to know whether it's a legitimate thing. And sometimes you give somebody money and it wasn't legitimate. Sometimes you don't.
Right.
Whatever. But it's not your place to say what they're going to do with it.
I look at that passage of scripture because that's kind of what goes through my head a lot of the times when Jesus was talking to Peter. And he's like, do you love me?
Yeah.
Feed my sheep.
Feed my sheep.
So anytime I see, someone that's homeless or down on their luck or whatever it is,
Yeah.
I'll go to Subway, Wendy's, something.
Well, yeah. If that's what you feel led to do is go get them a meal, do it.
Right.
But
And-
don't go, I'm not going to give you money because you might buy alcohol.
Well, that's my point.
It's like,
Can you feed people with money, like literally take it out of your pocket?
Yeah.
No.
No.
There's no sustenance to it.
right.
So feed them. Go get them a sandwich from the deli.
Right.
Heck, make them a meal and take it to them. Be like, hey, dude,
Right.
can I give this food to you so you can have sustenance
Yeah.
to digest? And strike up a conversation with them.
Absolutely.
I've met some of the coolest homeless people
Mm-hmm.
in, Podunk, Caro, where I'm from.
Right.
And, all over the United States, places that I've lived. And, I met this one guy when I was in St. Louis, Missouri. Dude was running a multi-million-dollar company. and the whole thing just went up in flames.
Right.
And his wife left him. His kids, estranged him.
Right.
The whole 9 yards. Like, everything he owned, gone. And I ran into this dude because I went to go sit on a park bench waiting for my boss, and he was covered up with newspapers. Now, I couldn't tell because there was just a ton of newspapers.
So you go to sit down?
I go to slide the newspaper over, and he's like, hey. And I'm like, oh, dude, my bad. You good? And I gotta go sleep around here, and, it's salty, dude.
You're sleeping on a park bench, bro.
Right. And, I got to hear his story because my boss was late.
Right.
And I'm like, can I go to the mom and pop diner and, buy you a sandwich or something, man? Because I'm
Right.
like, you're out here and you've got to be hungry.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, yeah, that'd be kind of cool. I appreciate that. And I'm sitting in the diner because, my boss was still late and I'm watching. And I sat there for a good 20, 25 minutes just watching this dude eat, telling me his story.
Right.
And I'm like, feed my people.
Right.
You see somebody that's lacking or wanting, pour into them. Don't be a pious douchebag and go, oh, well, I'm a Christian, and that's beneath me.
It's amazing to me it's like they rail on the world about what they're, how they look at love and it's just lust and everything like that. And I go, man, but the church has some really jacked up ideas about love too. If you don't do this right and you don't do that right, I mean, they're great at doing hypocrites. But I really wanted to talk about the bottom line of what it means to love people, to love on people. When I'm at hockey and one of my guys, I'm having a beer with him after hockey and I'm, cussing right with him.
Yeah.
Not trying to keep up with them, but I'm not restraining myself.
Well, tell them what they call you.
They call me Preach.
Yeah.
The majority of them call me Preach.
Right.
And it was just, when I'm in the locker room when they first noticed, they were like, Preach, did you just cuss? I'm like, yeah, where have you been? And they're like,
you breaking my balls.
They're like, oh, we didn't. I said, this because you've got a concept that has been built up by a bunch of preachers. I had one of my buddies one time. He goes, he says something to me. He goes, oh, you're on your radio show. Because I did a radio show for about 6 months. We drove all the way from here to Detroit every Friday and did our radio show.
Yeah.
And it was a good experience, but it was, ultimately I was like,
I'm over it.
Well, we were paying to be on the radio versus, being on the radio for free or them paying us.
Right.
And I was like, okay, you guys are just, they didn't care. They had a good heart, but ultimately you're like, if you had money, they didn't care what your doctrine or your message was, And there was some heavy dude, like the dudes that followed us at one point were like, I mean, like their guy Messiah over in Africa or something like that was the second. He was like the next Jesus, and we're like, you really think that?
Charles Manson much?
No, and I was like, wow, okay, and you guys are following us. All right, when's our contract up? Because you signed a contract for that you're going to do so many shows. Mm-hmm. But anyways, so we're driving down there, we're doing the shows, and I just the concepts of the show and what we're doing. I said, my buddy, I told a bunch of guys, I'm like, I'm doing my radio show. They would ask me, they're like, hey, can you play hockey on Friday? And I'm like, I can't.
Right.
I said, I've got my radio show. They're like, what? You got a radio show? I'm like, yeah. So this one buddy of mine, he's like, I said, yeah. I said, radio show. I said, so I can't be. Oh, that's really cool. It's really cool. Right?
Yeah.
So I went, yeah, it's on Fridays at 5 o'clock. He goes, well, I don't need anybody preaching at me. And I looked at him, and I skated away from him.
Right.
And I got back in the locker room later after the skate, and I looked right at him. And I goes, dude, I have never preached at you.
Right.
A single time.
Right.
So your reaction was way out of line.
Right.
And he went, yeah, man, you're right. You're right. I said, dude, I have never talked to you about Jesus.
Right.
I've never preached to you. You know who I am.
Right.
But I've never tried to proselytize you.
Right.
And he goes, yeah, you're right. And he was enough of a friend that I could do that. If he was somebody that I didn't know, maybe I don't do that. But
well, and
again,
we talked about etiquette when we were doing the test of the way you approach somebody to let your character dictate who you are through your actions.
Yeah.
Because we all know talk is cheap.
Yep.
You can talk out both sides of your mouth.
Talk is cheap and bullshit runs deep.
Right, exactly. You know, letting your character, letting your actions dictate who
Yeah.
you are.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so funny running into people now at all these festivals and events and stuff that we've been asked to participate in or do
Right.
sponsorships
Right.
for. And they listen to the show. And they're like, man, I know you. And then they see me in person and they're like, man, you're different. And I put my pants on one leg at a time, just like you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe I'm having a shit day or something, or, you know, maybe I'm just tired because of all the stuff that we do.
Right.
You know, I'm not trying to
Yeah.
go through and give you mixed signals here, but
Right.
I'm a human being.
Right.
You know, I'm going to love with every ounce of my being. And if I'm having a shit day, I'm going to tell you, look, man, I could have used an extra 2 hours of sleep, but.
But I didn't get it.
Right.
Right.
So I'm going to let my actions by going, I'm going to sit back.
Yeah.
We'll be cool for a minute. And when I got my headspace
Yeah.
in the right space, I'm going to come talk to you.
Isn't it amazing how people perceive and how people look at things? It just amazes me. And that's really at the crux of what we're talking about is people's perception and what their ideas and concepts are. You
Right.
know? And we get that a lot from our families. You and I have had these discussions where your upbringing, you know, you have your what shaped you when you were growing up.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and we've actually had some knockdown dragouts about that. I'm like, Tony, that's not the way it's supposed to be, man. Get the fuck.
But that's the thing, though. When you're not ready to hear that,
Yeah.
why are you going to beat somebody over the Bible or beat them over the head with a Bible?
No.
And going, you need Jesus.
But if I have to do that,
Right.
if I have to beat you over the head with the message,
Right.
it's clear that you're not ready for the message. I mean, I've sat on Don't Make This Weird show. We cut up. We have a great time. We cuss. Kick a baby in the face. And for those of you that never heard that before, that's a baby possum. I had to clarify the second show I was on. They're like, oh my God, he's kicking a baby. I'm like, a baby possum? You've ever seen a baby possum? And they're like, oh, that's even funnier. Of course it is.
Of course.
I'm like, if you're kicking a baby human, there's really something wrong with you.
He's just a dick.
Yeah. So, anyways, we're on there, we're doing the show, and it's been amazing that after pretty much every one of the shows, I've had a conversation with somebody after the show about a deep subject that is that is as close to, if not completely in line with any type of church counseling I've done.
Right.
You know, I sat, and in fact, I handed out to half the people at Don't Make This Weird that are like integral in I handed out teachings that I've done that I have CDs all made up for.
And they want more.
You know, we did the Labor Day party, and Heather's like, will you do a church service this morning?
We were talking about that.
And I'm like, yeah, let's do it.
Well, and that's what's funny about it is, I mean, you know, whether you've been on, you know, Survivor Girl or Don't Make This Weird, me personally, I've had at least 4 to 5 people message me after every show that you've been on that has caught the show live.
Right.
And they're like, I want to talk to that dude because he's different.
Right.
And I'm like, I like different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Because everybody's got this stigma, and rightly so.
Rightly so, because that's what they've been fed for all these years.
Right.
I mean, if you're getting fed dog food for years, then you develop a taste for dog food. And then somebody hands you a steak and you go, that tastes a lot better than dry dog food with a little bit of spit put on it.
Yeah. Got the nice little cross section of the grill.
Yeah. Give me, we had spaghetti tonight, but we'll be all right.
Right.
But yeah.
By the way, that was really good. Thank you for dinner, and thank you to the people
crew who went and ran and get it.
The crew that went and got it.
Yeah.
And it was funny because they actually got you a cake.
They did. We're gonna.
For your first
we'll bring that out. Did they already eat a bunch of it?
No, I think it's still sitting over the counter.
Is it gone?
No, it's over the counter.
They literally got me a cake for the first show, so thank you guys.
It had butterflies. And
Yeah,
it was
that was specifically Vince and Candy that went and picked it up and brought my cake. There it is. Did you get a shot? You getting a shot, Nate? Get a shot, buddy. Show what's left. So, yeah, they got a cake. It's awesome. But that's what we're talking about is I've always taken and subscribed to, there it is, the cake.
The cake, yes.
There's at least half of it left. But that's what we're talking about is what does it really mean to love people? And first and foremost, I mean, I have a VHS copy from 1999. I'm a little old. Of me teaching a message called "Sin is Not Your Problem." Okay, Tisha actually was helping do the camera work and stuff.
I think I remember watching that because we watched it on your old projection screen.
Yeah, so that's
television.
So
Thank God we're old.
got a few minutes on us.
Yeah, right.
But in the message, I remember one of the things that I was on at the time in the message. Because I'm like, first of all, sin's not your problem. And people go, what do you mean sin's not my problem? I'm like, well, do you even know what the concept of sin is? Okay, sin means to miss the mark or miss the target, to not have a share in, to not have an inheritance. Those are the three main things. Miss the target, miss the mark, not have a share, and not have an inheritance.
Right.
Okay? That's what hamartia, hamartano in the Greek mean.
Right.
So when translated sin. So if you don't know what you're supposed to shoot at, of course you're going to miss the target. So, but after you go through that definition, then you go over the place where you go, it says in Scripture, in a number of places specifically, Jesus paid for sin once
And for all.
for all,
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
So is sin your problem? Or is faith your problem and relationship, ultimately relationship? You need to connect in faith with people or with the Lord.
Pause that really quick.
What you got?
Dawn just chimed in and she said, yes, Jeremy, your teachings are awesome. I'm almost done with the CDs you sent. I want more.
Well, you tell her the channel that she's probably on Don't Make This Weird.
Yeah, this is Don't Make
All
This
right,
Weird.
she clicks on the HFTC channel. I think there's about 160 videos or something.
Something like that, yeah.
There's a lot. But thank you, Dawn. I appreciate that. But again, those teachings flow out of what the Lord taught me personally.
Right.
And then when I share it, I'm teaching it myself.
Well, and one of the things I want to sidestep for a minute, because you brought this up, and it's a really great point. Because most people look at God and Jesus and, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, all of this
Right.
tradition stuff. But they forget about relationship.
That's the crux of it.
And I mean, to me, if you're going to love somebody, unconditionally,
Yeah.
you have to cultivate a relationship with them instead of cultivate religion with them of, 6 out of the 7 days out of the week, you're a piece of shit.
Right.
And the 7th day, you're holier than thou.
Right.
No offense, get the fuck out of here with that bullshit because I don't have time for it.
Exactly.
Be real with me and
Yeah.
cultivate an actual intimate relationship with me
Yeah.
to where, hey, I'm going through some shit right now.
Right.
I need to lean on you for a minute.
You know how many people you do, and I do, but how many people come out of church and they're just, it's like, you wouldn't know that they're a believer. You wouldn't know that they're
Right.
not because they don't have the religious monikers.
Right.
But because they're so mean or bitter
Oh,
or
God.
resentful. And I'm like, wow. And that's what I was talking about with that video. It's sin is not your problem is what I was teaching on the thing.
Right.
But in the video, I got onto this riff and I know the Lord led me to it. And I was teaching. I said, look, I know why you don't like me. You don't like yourself.
Right.
Because remember what Jesus said?
Right.
Love your neighbor as you love yourself.
Right.
So it was a command, but it was also a statement of fact.
Right.
You love your neighbor as you love yourself.
Right.
So if you don't love your neighbor, you need to start checking yourself.
Right.
Because you probably don't like you.
Right.
And so when we're looking at that, it's like, I know why you don't like me.
Yeah.
You don't like you.
Right.
Because he who has many friends must first show himself to be friendly. And I got a lot of friends.
Right.
And I'm not screwing my friends over. I'm a man of my word. I'm honorable.
Right.
And I love my friends. When people come into the man cave, I've got it from you.
Yeah.
There's one of the pages on the wall that you hand wrote out.
Yep.
And then after the Labor Day party, Heather wrote it out, right? And both of them have somewhere in it saying it's so peaceful to come down here. Now, do I work at, walking in and go, I just sometimes I do. But I've never walked into this building and said, I speak peace over this building. You know what I do?
What?
I operate in who I am. And it says, peacemakers sow in peace and raise a harvest of righteousness. So when people come into my environment, that's mine.
Absolutely.
They feel peace. They feel, I mean, I know people would agree all the way through chat.
Dawn's said it.
Yeah.
Becky said it. Nate's said it.
Absolutely.
Allison said it. And Allison, you know, I'm not trying to get all into the details of everything, but, you know, Candy, she's like, dude, 4th of July party was off the hook.
Right.
But there was an incredible feeling of sanctuary here.
Yeah.
You know, she's been down here a couple of times since.
Yeah.
And went, I got to go to the man cave. You know, it's so funny that,
Yeah.
you know, up where in my neck of the woods,
Yeah.
I got to go to the man cave.
Oh, dude, you like,
It's great.
like you coming down? Hell yeah. How quickly? As soon as I possibly can.
My son,
Yeah.
you know, who doesn't like to do anything that's out of his comfort zone of playing video games and all these other things, brought him down here the one time. He's like, Dad, can I go back with you? I'm like, absolutely, man.
Yeah. Yeah. What's
We got some more stuff in chat. Oh, so Heather chimes in and says, I agree with Dawn.
Yep.
And then she says, I'm going to have to borrow those CDs. And then
Nice.
Dawn chimes in and says, yes, it is so peaceful there.
Yeah. And you get around people and you can feel their flavor. You can feel their atmosphere. You can feel what's going on. what's
Becky chimed in and said, oh my, I love the time at the man cave. It was so peaceful, great energy.
Absolutely. And that's what it's about. And so,
Yeah.
again, I wanted to do a show that shows all of me because I don't want people, number one, to have a false perception that I'm walking around. And I never gave that perception.
Right.
You know, I don't think. But if you're only getting this view of me on,
You got
on my
blinders
channel,
on. Take them off.
then you're not seeing the whole me
Right.
that just like you said, I put my pants on the same way that you do,
Yeah.
you know, but here's a whole bunch of people testifying. They're like, look, this dude, you know, I'm coming into this man cave,
Yeah.
right? And we got the bar and the pool table and the fridge and
Foosball
and
table.
foosball table, and we got all this, you know, the big screen and all the stuff, and you know, the kids can play PlayStation, and we just have a great time every time somebody comes here. It's good fellowship.
Well, and it's an incredible sanctuary for those people that, you know, maybe are teetering on the precipice of going, I'm done with the whole religious legalism jargon crap.
Right. But
I want to be around real people.
And that's my point, is we've got an environment
Yeah.
that is just a natural outflow of who I am. And I want people, this part of this podcast is for me to say, take a look at who I am completely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if you're longing for something, it's not as big as you think it is to get over to a place of purpose and fulfillment. You don't have to be
Right.
some hoity-toity stick in your ass, you know.
Right.
You can be a normal person,
Right.
and get up every day. But what matters
Right.
is doing right by people. It's loving people unconditionally sometimes.
Absolutely.
Other times you got to give them some tough love.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, sometimes it's I'm going to slap you now. You know, I'm gonna let you know that was unacceptable.
Right.
You're still, your focus is love. You're still looking at, am I doing this to be a better person?
Right.
Am I working on loving myself? You know, when I get up each day and I go, you know, I've had people comment and they say, you know, you look really nice.
Right.
And I say, thank you.
Right.
You know, and I don't feel the obligation to say something back. If they do and it's genuine, I say, yeah, you look good too.
Yeah.
You know, but 9 times out of 10, I've learned to accept the compliment.
Yeah.
But I've also had a few occasions where people have said something and I go,
Yeah.
I don't dress for you.
Right.
You know, they're
Oh,
thinking
yeah.
like, well, you know, wear your fancy clothes like you're better. And I go, no, I don't get dressed for you. I appreciate it when other people
Right.
appreciate, you know, look at me and go, wow, you look really nice. And I go,
Yeah.
thank you. But,
Yeah.
you know,
Thanks for the shirt, by the way.
that's very nice. But
Well, thank you.
you're welcome. But I look at him and go, I didn't get dressed for you.
Right.
I mean, I appreciate that you
Noticed.
noticed. And every once in a while, I will say this disclaimer, every once in a while, the Lord is, I've been to my closet.
Yeah.
And you know my closet. Mm-hmm. And I walked in there and I go, what shirt should I wear? And he goes, wear that one. And I go, okay. And I put that shirt on, and then I'll come across somebody in the course of the day wearing
Right.
that shirt who goes, wow, that is really nice. And I go, apparently it was for you because I was told to wear this today.
Right.
And they go, really?
Yeah.
And I go, I was told to wear it, and you are like, really appreciate it.
Right.
And I'm like, so, thank the Lord for it.
Heather just chimed in and said, it's about feeling good for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, you've got to feel good. You've got to love if you don't love you, it's impossible to truly love other people. And it takes work to love yourself. It takes work to accept yourself, to see yourself. And again, I'm wearing clothes that I like. And I've had other people, I wear the rock revival jeans.
Right.
And I said it, one of my buddies yesterday, I built him a deck last year, about a $80,000, $90,000 deck.
Nice.
Oh, it's gorgeous. All Trex cable railing.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Nice.
You've seen pictures of it, haven't you?
Yeah, you showed me.
Yeah. So we were there the other day because a couple of little cables had loosened up, so the boys are going to take an hour or so and go there and tighten them up.
Yeah.
And so he's there, and he's one of my buddies, and he teases me. He's like, oh, you want to ease up on bedazzling the jeans?
Straight on Deadpool.
Yeah. And I go, thanks, Deadpool. I said, yeah. I said, he's like, they're not a fucking art project.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is the point that you made just before you dropped the bedazzle is I'm the worst offender for that.
Yeah.
Growing up, I had no idea how to navigate friendships, aside from my grandmother, who I firmly believe single-handedly earned her sainthood by raising me.
Apparently.
But, you and I, early on in our friendship, had rifts between us.
Right.
Because you're like, dude, why are you doing this from a place of anger, of rage, of hate?
Yeah.
Do it from a place of love. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I am moving! Oh! And you're like, okay, baby Hulk, calm down.
Exactly.
And at that point, I was like, why are you intentionally trying to fuck with me? And you're like, dude.
You can't scrape the scum off the top of the pond until you stir it up a little bit.
Right. But that was the thing, is that was a lesson that I had to learn. And I mean, for the first couple of years, I was a shitty father.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, look, you little screaming baby son of a bitch.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Shut the hell up.
You're like, what the hell is your problem? I'm like, she's 2. She wants to be held. Pick her up and stop being a dick. And they're like, oh.
I'm a dick.
And you picked her up and held her, and like instantly she was calm.
Right.
And I'm like, do you get it? And you went, yeah. And then we had discussions about how you were raised. So you weren't doing it. You came by it naturally.
Right.
It wasn't like you were on purpose. You were oblivious to it. And I'm like, dude, you need to nurture.
Heather chimed in and said, haha, tell to kiss your bedazzle.
Oh, yeah. Tell him to kiss my bedazzle.
Right, but that's the thing.
I do.
Right.
I go, you know what? I didn't put them on for you, sweetheart.
Right. But that was the thing, though, is I didn't even realize for myself, and you know me, I was raised in the church, beat daily in the face with a Bible.
Absolutely.
And just none of it made sense growing up, because I was asking the right questions, but I was getting, you shouldn't ask that, you shouldn't ask that, you shouldn't ask that, you shouldn't ask that. I mean, we just watched the Age of Ultron.
Right.
And that's what I felt like was, Iron Man pummeling the Hulk. Go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep. You know what I mean? And then you came along and you went, dude, don't be a dick. Pick up your daughter and love her.
Yep. That's all she needs. She's like, she's changed. I fed her. I took care of this. I took care of that. What the hell's her problem? I'm like, she needs to be held. Just pick her up and give her a hug. Buddy.
Right. 15 minutes later, she's like, okay, cool. I'm going to go do my thing.
Yeah. It took you a little while to hold her.
Right.
And then she's like, I went down.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's it? That's the secret? Yeah, it's not really a secret. It's just, nobody told you.
But because of our friendship, you taught me how to be a better father. How to if you're going to discipline a child,
Yeah.
do it from a place of love.
Absolutely.
Don't let your own frustrations get in the way of that. And I mean, like I said, early on in our friendship, we were constantly doing this, not because we hated each other.
No, but when you've got rough edges,
Right.
you're going to scrape up against things. And people. Yeah.
And that was the funny part about it. I remember a couple of years ago, you came to me and you're like, dude, you remember that conversation we had back at the House of Vassar? And I was like, what conversation are you talking about? And you brought up something and you're like, yeah, I kind of busted your balls pretty hard back then. But you had a point, and it took me a minute to chew on it and go, that motherfucker.
Yeah. I think I lit you up pretty good that night.
Oh yeah, and that was the thing is,
And I was like, man. But I didn't do it from a place of
Right.
wanting to hurt you.
right,
I was, part of it was I was very disappointed.
right,
And the other part of it is I was angry too. The
Right.
disappointment flowed into anger. And
Right.
I was like, dude, what are you doing with your life?
right,
You know, you've got all this talent, all this potential.
right,
You lived with me for the last couple of years. I'm moving.
right,
And all you want to do is stay in the same spot you're in.
Right.
That was never what was supposed to happen. You were supposed to progress
Right.
in this environment.
Right.
And you're pissing me off because you didn't progress in this environment. And I'm like, if I come back
right,
and I don't see you progressing
Right.
in a few years, I'm
Right.
going to beat the shit out of you. Right now it's just verbal.
right,
But I'm going to come back. I'm going to rip you. I'm going to shred you. And dude, we lost touch for a few years.
yeah,
And but then we got back into touch, and you were starting to just tear into things and starting
yeah.
to just go forward.
Absolutely.
And part of it was not getting after you just because of me personally.
right,
I knew, and we had worked on some of those things, of
Yeah.
things that you were enduring, the divorce and struggles with, the ex and getting the kids and then, another kid, and then just dealing with those ramifications, and then some of the other issues in your
Right.
life. You had some legitimate
I'm going to say this one
handicaps.
time. Marla, you met me at a very interesting time in my life.
Love me,
no.
hate me.
But that was the thing. I mean, you're absolutely right. You couldn't have met me at a worse time. And I mean, I don't care if people know this.
I met you at the perfect time because nobody else was coming to get your ass out of jail.
If that's my point. I was just going to say, you literally picked my ass up out of jail for something that I had nothing to
How
do
long
with.
had we known each other when I came and picked you up? 6 months?
It's intimately 6 months.
6 months.
As brothers.
Yeah.
Because prior to that, we had bumped into each other doing the local scene and whatnot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, one-on-one, it was like 6 months, I think, maybe.
Yeah. Of
Because
really getting to know each other.
Your drummer at that time was like, dude, why don't you come meet this guy? He's got,
Yeah.
similar haircut.
Crinking his neck.
I'm like, all right, cool. Let's go meet
Let's do
this
this.
dude.
Right.
And I get over there, and the first thing I hear, because Donnie is playing this screaming guitar, and you busted out with Reaching.
Oh, that was the first one, huh?
Oh my, dude! I walked through the door. Reaching for the sun again. I'm like, I'm home.
Do we peg the mic on that one?
And then, hanging out with
We have a
Donnie.
recording of that somewhere.
I'm sure we do. I got to pull it up in some of my old session files because I tried remixing it, and
Yeah. I'm glad we got that off the computer.
But no, that was my introduction to you.
Yeah.
Is 6 months later, after we had jammed a couple of times, recorded some music.
Right.
You're
like, ring, ring.
Yeah.
Hello. You have a collect call from the Tuscola County Jail. From Tony Bradley. To accept this call, press 5. Hello, Tony. What's up, buddy? You think you could come get me? Absolutely, I'm on my way. Can you bring me a shirt?
Yeah. Mine shredded,
Half
got
mine's
blood on
gone.
it.
Yeah.
Which is funny, because it was my blood from being beat up.
Right.
I'm like, how the fuck does that happen? You get beat up and you're the one that goes to jail. Huh?
Right.
Anyways, I digress. But the great part about this is because you loved me as a brother.
Yeah.
The whole entire car ride home, you're like, look, brother, this is how it's going to go down. I'm going to tell you some things, and you're going to need to sit there and be quiet. Because it's not what you want to hear, it's what you need to hear. And I'm like, I'm a dick. Because you started telling me this stuff, and I'm going, yep, need to hear that.
Well, I mean, the next part of the story is that's how you came to live with me.
Right.
Was because you couldn't go back to your house.
I couldn't go back to my own home.
Right.
Like, I was escorted out
Didn't
of
I
my...
have to go pick up your clothes for you because you weren't
Yeah.
allowed back there?
Yeah. I was
And you're
escorted
like,
out of my own
She
home.
attacked me, and I can't go back home.
Right.
So, anyways, but the point being
Right.
is when you're operating in a place of love, when you're
Right.
doing what you're supposed to do, it's a different flavor, man. It's a different, I really look at it and go, I know what the Lord's talking about when he says, when I was hungry, you didn't feed me. When I was thirsty, you didn't give me something to drink. And when I was naked, you didn't clothe me. And when I was in prison, you didn't come to visit me. It's like, I used to ask myself, I'm like, Lord, have I done those things? Have I done those? And I look back at the people that have been in my life, and I go, yeah, I've literally done those things, not just figuratively, but literally done those things. And I go, and it's all in the place of just loving people.
Right.
But it comes from a place of loving yourself. And I think that's the biggest thing is you got a lot of believers and non-believers out there, whatever strain you're from.
Right.
But specifically, I get some issues with church folk because they're walking around shouting at everybody about Jesus.
Right.
But they don't operate in the love that Jesus had. They don't turn to they're taking the message for the Pharisee and religious people and applying it to the people that are actually coming and need help.
I grew up in the Baptist church, hellfire, brimstone, like you were talking about earlier. And for 17 years, I was beat religiously, no pun intended, with the Bible every single day.
Right.
And, my grandmother had a little bit more of a idle hand than just pummeling me with the Bible.
Right.
But I started asking the questions. Okay, cool. You got all these books in the Bible. Why aren't we teaching them from Song of Solomon? Because from my limited understanding at that point in time, it was about true intimacy, true vulnerability of how we were supposed to relate to each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the screwed up part about that is I was more or less set out on a pole and excommunicated for asking the wrong questions. So I had a real bitter taste in my mouth at that point in time of going, for God so loved the world, huh?
Yeah.
Is that how this works?
Yeah.
Okay, let me make this abundantly clear for you since I'm standing in the church parking lot because you've excommunicated me. Fuck you!
Right.
I'm good.
Right. I didn't want to try to conform to your bullshit anyways.
Oh, right, and that was the shitty part about it because there was a lot of good people that were attending that church. They were being pummeled to death of going in there looking for answers, asking the right questions, but hearing day in, day out, you're a piece of shit. Give me your money. You're a piece of shit. Give me more money.
Right.
You're a bigger piece of shit because I caught you doing something like, I don't know, dancing.
Yeah.
Give me your money.
Wow, how horrible.
Yeah. And I'm going, this is absolutely absurd that someone would buy into this. But, it goes back to it's guilt. I deserve it. Thrashing yourself.
Yeah, dude.
Are you kidding right now?
In Hebrews, in the book of Hebrews, there's one spot, chapter 9, chapter 10, somewhere right in there before you get or no, maybe it's 11.
Right.
No, it's 9 and 10. Where my Bible's at. But it talks about how that the first covenant covered sin.
Right.
Took care of it. But it was unable to take away the guilt of those offering sacrifice.
Right.
And it says that the new covenant, covenant we're under, is able to take away the guilt of the worshiper. And it goes into chapter 10 and it says therefore let us come boldly to the throne, right?
Right.
Having I'm paraphrasing right now, everybody, you can look it up. It's like having our bodies washed with pure water and our hearts cleansed, purified with blood so that we can come before the throne spotless and blameless. And I go, if you're a believer, and first of all, either new and you haven't been taught, that's fine. But if you're standing there and you've been in the church for a lot of years and you walk around with guilt,
right?
You're either in the wrong church, or you just don't want to. They have this mentality that I need to feel bad. I need to feel this,
right?
And it's not a healthy place. It's not a good place. Our heart needs to be cleansed, and be free. Nate asked me earlier, it was pretty cool. He's like, "What's your favorite scripture?" And I'm like, pick a subject, because I have 15. If you're going to talk about purpose and walking in vision, then I'm going to give you Proverbs 16:1-4. Right? To man belong the plans of the heart, from God comes the reply of the tongue. commit your plans to the Lord, and they will prosper, or they will be made solid, made firm.
Right.
For the Lord will achieve his end, because he
Right.
raises up the wicked even for the day of disaster.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so that's one of them. If you're talking about purpose and destiny, if you're talking, and I was like, you know what? Go John 15:3. And so he punches it up and he shows me the graphic, and I'm like, very nice. John 15:3.
Yeah.
You are already clean through the word which I've spoken to you. And there's so many facets in that verse. I love John 15 altogether. I mean,
That so lines up with what I was just going to talk about, with being labeled as they'll never. They'll never.
achieve this. I'll never
Right.
make it that. Yeah.
You'll never be a good Christian. You'll just be an okayest
And I
Christian.
go, what does that mean?
And I'm going, wait a minute.
First
hold
of
on
all,
here.
the people that were called Christians first were outsiders called the people at Antioch Christians, because they knew the Christ.
Well, not to mention it was meant as a derogatory statement.
Yeah. Well, you're a bunch of Christians.
Right. Well, and that was the thing is, taking the perspective of being excommunicated from the church.
Yeah.
I always, and not because I have that mentality, but it's one of those things that I always take the approach of, okay, what does a non-believer see?
Right.
Okay, cool. You've been beat up by the church?
Right.
Me too.
Yeah.
And it's not, that stupid thing, me too.
Right.
No, it's, dude, I was lambasted, tarred and feathered, and set on fire.
Mm-hmm.
Because,
You didn't conform.
you're the spawn of Satan. Well, first, which one of my parents are you talking about? Because they're both as equally evil. And once we have that clarified, then, help me understand what your beef is with something that you don't even believe in.
Right.
Why do you hate this invisible dude with an amazing beard in the sky when you don't even believe in him? Cool. Can we just go have a beer,
Right.
and sit down and go, are you okay?
Right.
And yet, most people are like, well, you're one of those.
Yeah.
That's funny because I was labeled as a they'll never or he'll never.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, cool. Since we're past all this remedial bullshit, can we just sit down and have a real conversation?
Yeah.
And possibly, quite possibly, because I'm the worst offender for this, because I've been hurt. I've been, dude, there's nothing that feels more incredible than when you become friends with somebody or you're connected with somebody of the opposite sex and they go, oh, I'll never hurt you. I'll never leave you alone. And the next thing you know, you wake up with a chainsaw sticking out of your spine and going, oh, so this is love.
Right. No. And if you have to tell me
Right.
that you're not going to do it,
Right.
that's a red flag right up front.
But that's the point, though, is just because I've been pummeled into the mantle of the earth. We're way past the crust. Still doesn't mean I'm not going to go through and reach out and go, tell me your story.
Right.
What's going on with you? What are some of the good things? What are some of the bad things? What are some of the ugly things?
Right.
Cultivate that intimate relationship with that person, because I think people misunderstand what the definition of intimacy is,
Right.
because it's all about, throwing a hot dog down a hallway. No, it's not.
No.
It's about, hey, had a great dinner. Thank you for that hospitality. Appreciate this. It's amazing. Good food, great conversation. You start entering into all kinds of other arrangements, like doing a podcast, or, hey, this is something I want to accomplish. I'm going to start a band. You play guitar. Let's go ahead and
Let's do this.
Let's do this, right? So I think it's so funny because believers and non-believers alike, I have so many interesting conversations. And they're like, well, I ain't all into that Christian, hooey, religious bullshit garbage.
Right.
I'm like, that's cool. Do you? I'm still going to be friends with you. We're still going to hang out.
Right.
I'm not here to pummel you over the head because we've been friends for, X amount of years. Hey, dude, I love hanging out with you, man. I love you.
Right.
I
Let's do
enjoy
this.
your conversation.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit what your label is or what your tag is. It's, You and me tight?
Yep.
Cool.
Let's do this.
Right.
Yeah. I remember I was driving one time. Remember when I was building the condominiums down there in Clarkston? And
Yeah.
the superintendent was a bit of a... He had his moments. He could be a decent guy.
Right.
Every once in a while, he was quite at the tool. And I'm riding with him.
Don chimed in and said, Jeremy, please give me a reading for forgiveness. Purple Heart.
Reading.
Yeah.
Like where she's
The
at.
study guide.
Oh, a reading for forgiveness.
Yeah, yeah.
Bait of Satan by John Revere. And there's another one that Joyce has on loving yourself. Really doing that. I need to finish a few of my books at some point. Anyways, so I'm riding with this superintendent one day.
Yeah.
And he was younger than me.
Okay.
Or maybe the same age, maybe a few years younger. This was my mid-20s, so I think he was a couple years younger than me.
Yeah.
So he's a superintendent for the builder who was doing this. I'm in there framing these condos.
Right.
And he I'm riding in his truck for whatever reason. I ended up with him for lunch or something like that, and I'm riding with him in his truck. We're going to grab something, and there's Ben.
What's up, Ben?
But we're riding in his truck, and it's his truck, and we're listening to his stuff, right?
Right.
Metallica's on the radio.
Dude.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So this is mid-20s. So this is 20 years ago. Was the Black Album out in the early 90s? Did it come out?
Dude, it was 1990 when it came out.
Okay, so it must have been right off the Black Album. Must have been right, something off that. So we're cruising around. And I'm jamming to the song.
Right.
And all of a sudden he turns to me and he goes, I thought Christians didn't sing to this stuff. He's like, I thought Christians didn't, listen to. He just, said something very derogatory. He's like, I thought Christians. Like, I looked right at him and goes, what you think you know about my Christianity? I don't care what you think you know about anything else. I'm like, what you think you know about my Christianity and my faith and my relationship with God is probably zero.
Right.
And I've been working on this project for about a year, and I'm like,
Of course.
but what you think you know,
Right.
You don't know anything.
Right.
And I'm like, and for you to presume it,
Right.
that you know me, and I said, furthermore, it's your fucking radio.
Right.
I'm singing to your radio. This is the stuff you put on. And you're going to tell me that somehow I'm not honoring what you think you know about me?
I'm in violation of your radio.
I'm literally singing to the music on your radio, and you're going to try to criticize and correct me?
Right. Right.
I'm like, you'd be better off just shutting your mouth. And he was like, whoa, And I'm like, yeah, dude. but it's like they have this perception of how people are and what they're looking at.
Oh, yeah.
And it's amazing to me. So we've got to. I just want to get the message out there to people. It's like, start loving yourself. Start. First of all, the scripture says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength.
Right.
Love your neighbor as you love yourself.
Right.
So you get out of yourself enough to love God.
And I look at a lot of the conversations that I've had with a lot of the people in the tribe, that are struggling with something. And I've struggled a lot with anxiety,
Yeah.
depression,
Right.
suicidal thoughts all day long for years.
Right.
And it's one of those things that I learned, and learned it the hard way, was if I don't love myself, how can I possibly love anyone else? And in turn be able to share that, because it's not coming from a place of love. Mm-hmm. And, recently I've been doing a little experiment, but it's been sincere and been very genuine.
Right.
When somebody comes to me and go, hey, can I just talk to you for a minute?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm kind of not okay.
Right.
And it's like, cool. Well, guess what? Before you start, I want to lay the ground rules here. It's, you have a tribe.
Mm-hmm.
Your tribe just called you amazing.
Right.
Never forget that. And always remember it, even when you're in your bad and ugly days. Because everybody has good, bad, and ugly days. But ultimately, it comes down to that of, look, okay, now that we've kind of established the guideline and boundaries of you're part of something that is way bigger than you, way bigger than me.
Mm-hmm.
All right, talk to me. What is the deal?
Right.
confide in me. I'm just going to sit here, shut up, and listen.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how it's not really a distraction, but it's like, oh, wait a minute. There's more people that legitimately care about me.
Yeah.
I'm not the only one that's struggling with this. And I came to you, and you're telling me this that has, I mean, it may have some degree of commonality there, but
Right.
still, it's like, well, wait a minute. I have more people that I can talk to.
Yeah.
I mean, I think of my friend Tiffany, who I adore. I grew up with her mom, and her mom was my babysitter. So I've known Tiffany since she was, knee high to a grasshopper. But it's so funny. Like, she's constantly confided in me over some pretty dark stuff. But in the same token, she went, look, you're the only one that I could talk to.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going, all right, love you, BFF for life.
Right.
And without question, regardless of what kind of mood she's in, what she's going through, immediately, without question, love you too, BFF for life.
Right.
Because there's that legitimacy there of it doesn't matter what it is that you're going through. If you are loving a person from a place of love,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to identify with that and go, wow, this person legitimately gives two fucks about me.
Right.
And they're not just giving me lip service.
Right.
Because their actions dictate it. I mean, it's so funny. I can't tell you how many times people will come to my house, and even down here at the man cave.
Mm-hmm.
Like, dude, every time I go to your house, did you eat?
Yeah.
You need a shower?
Right.
You need to do some laundry? You need to sleep? You need
Yep.
a nap?
Yep.
Whatever it is.
Yep.
And it was funny because there was a meme going around on Facebook for a minute. It's like there's more than one way to say, I love you.
Yeah.
And it was funny because my inbox got blown up when a bunch of people saw that app. They're like, dude, you do that! And I went, well, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I legitimately give a shit.
Right.
It's not just, how can I manipulate you through my religious label?
Yeah. And let's talk about that.
Yeah.
I'm going to go into this in greater detail.
How we doing on time, Nate?
We're good. We're going to try to keep it around 2 hours, but
Yeah.
ultimately we don't care. Well, I should restate that. Ultimately, I don't care.
Yeah.
This is my brain,
Yes.
and if it needs to keep flowing to keep the pressure down, then that's what we have to do.
Woosah.
You've read my random book,
Oh,
the
yeah.
opening part. Probably need to do this before I paint the walls brain matter gray and arterial red. And I found out that you can't get them separately at the paint store. You have to buy them together.
Oops.
Because in life and in paint,
Yeah.
apparently you can't buy one without the other. Anyways, nobody gets that but you and me. I'll post the first couple pages of the book at some point, and you can enjoy.
I still have not got my autographed copy with that, by the way.
Well, I got to finish the last few pages, and then I'll send it to you.
I'm just saying, man.
But one of the things that's been interesting to me, and we need to do like a whole show on this or something, because I listen to a lot of different people.
Yeah.
As far as I say a lot of different people. There's like 5 or 6 people that if I start naming their names, we might get deplatformed for just naming their names, which is bullshit. But I'm not going to name drop them for the sake of my notoriety. Let's put it that way. I can give two shits whether they deplatform us or whatever. But some of the people that I listen to, they're dealing with a lot of the political issues in our country and in the world, and they're talking about obviously things. And we'll get into New World Order and conspiracies and a bunch of stuff like that. But I wanted to keep stuff a little bit closer to the heart,
Right.
with what I'm talking about. And so I've been over the last couple of years really honing in on this idea of what makes a world leader try to control these people? What makes these social media people want to dictate who we should vote for and what makes these, the controller, they don't want us to see this when we get onto YouTube and I want to watch a certain person and they're like, oh no, we need to platform them because, so we're digitally burning books. Is that what we're doing? Hunfuhrer? Is that what we're doing? So you can't think. I had a brother, he was attending a congregation, he's passed on now, but just a great guy, sweetheart of a guy, and he come to me one day and he says, I'm going to read this book.
Right.
And he says, what's your advice? And I said, well, I personally never read it.
Right.
And I said, but I know enough about the book.
Yeah.
And I've been around enough circles that I know what the overall content is. And he says, well, should I read it? And I said, yes. But understand that it's coming from a place and natural. It's a church book. You're buying it at the Christian bookstore.
Right.
But it's coming from a very natural perspective on things.
Yeah.
And I said, but please read it. And he came back and he said, I read the book. And he said, you're exactly right. And I said, that's why I didn't read it.
Right.
I said, but I would never tell somebody else that they can't, that they shouldn't, that they can't. If you want to read Mein Kampf, read it.
Right.
If you want to read Karl Marx, if you want to read some of these other ones, read them. Because you'll learn something. But so we don't want to destroy these things. But we certainly don't want to adopt them as a dictate for how we live our lives.
That's what I think is so incredible is I always preface when somebody goes, well, what's your opinion on this?
Yeah.
And I immediately retort with, don't let my opinion sway yours.
Exactly. Right.
But since you're asking me, because I never volunteer my opinion, ever.
That's why people ask us our opinion. If I don't volunteer my opinion,
Right.
20 people come up and ask me for my opinion. If I'm volunteering my opinion, it says a fool delights in airing his own opinion. That's
Right.
what Proverbs says.
And I think
but
it's
a wise man
hilarious.
keeps his knowledge to himself.
I think it's hilarious because they're like, well, dude, what do you think about this? And it's like, all right, well, don't let my opinion sway you.
Right.
But if you're asking me,
Right.
this is what I think, or this is how I feel, or
Right. Here's my
I've had
balance.
experience with this.
Yeah, here's my balanced perspective.
Right.
Now
This
take
is
it from
my
there.
right, and it's so funny because Nate's done it a few different times. He's like, "What do you think about this, boss?" And I'm going, "Are you asking me, or are you just thinking out loud?"
Right.
And he's like, "Well, kind of both." So, and like I said, trying to actively do it with actions as opposed to words from a place of love of going, well, obviously if you do it this way or this way or this way, you're going to be in a pickle.
Right.
If you do it this way or this way or this way, obviously that's sitting back and going, okay, I need to process this a little more.
Right.
And not getting rid of the responsibility of being connected to your brother,
Right.
but going, all right, stop and think about this for a minute. Take the time, process it. You asked me for my opinion. I'm giving it to you.
Right.
But I don't want it to sway your thought process. I'm just giving you food for thought because I legitimately love you.
Right.
And that's, to me, that's how you're supposed to relate with each other. Not because some epic dude in the sky with an amazing beard told me to,
Right.
but because of my faith, because of my beliefs, that gives me a little bit better direction as opposed to the spaghetti monster or the one-eyed, one-horned flying purple people eater going, don't be a dick.
Right.
And I'm
Easy on your microphone.
knocking the microphone. It's weird because it's
right there.
Yeah, it's right there.
It is right there.
I'm so used to just grabbing my
Yeah,
mic
you
and
grab
adjusting
it.
it.
Yeah, that's your show. This is my show. But so, what I was talking about, it says in the beginning in Genesis, it says that God gave Adam, man, dominion over the earth and over the birds of the sea, or birds of the air, and the fish of the sea, and livestock and everything that creeps on the ground.
Right.
Okay. It never says in there that he gave man dominion over man. He gave man dominion over everything else.
Right.
And I look at that, and I've meditated on that for a long time, and I go, this is the perversion that we constantly see.
Right.
Why love isn't the predominant force
Right.
in church, why it isn't the predominant force in government, is because you have two choices in this life.
Right.
Just two. You can have dominion over yourself
Right.
and over your environment and over your livestock and over all of your stuff, or you can operate in a perversion and try to have dominion over other people, over what other people do. That's what it really comes down to. Is the God-given dominion was to take control of your area, your space. And the perversion is to try to control other people in their space. So
Right.
when you see leaders who want to take away guns and who want to do this and who want to do that, right? Our founding fathers were brilliant. They were like, look,
Absolutely.
we want to establish as little government as necessary to maintain the most God-given rights that we can that we come up with.
Right.
I was just reading the other day that it was Rhode Island or Connecticut. I want to say it was Rhode Island.
Okay.
One of the smaller states was the last one to ratify the Constitution of the 13 colonies because they were leery of the government.
Yeah.
And they said, if we don't have a guarantee that we will have a Bill of Rights immediately, the 10, we call them the Bill of Rights, but they're really the first 10 amendments, and there were actually 12 that were given out.
Right.
But they said, if we don't have a guarantee that we will have these amendments immediately proposed,
Right.
then we're not signing the Constitution because it doesn't cover those inalienable rights, those unalienable rights, those rights that can't be taken from you. They're given by God, and it literally, every one of them is like, Congress shall make no law infringing this.
Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Yeah, you can't touch this, you can't touch this, you can't touch
Right.
this, you can't touch this, you can't touch this. And they're constantly trying to encroach more and more on those, and they come around the side, and they
Right.
come around this way, and they figure out a way to do it over here. And I go, and I've looked at that and I go, what is that, Lord? And he goes, that's man trying to have dominion over man. And if you look at it, most politicians, not most, but it's definitely not an isolated issue of politicians, of church leadership.
Yeah.
How many churches have you seen going up in flames and scandals? And that's the ones that are big mega churches, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
But you don't always hear about all the little small ones where the pastor got run out of town because he was doing all sorts of shady stuff,
Yep.
And so you got politicians that do all sorts of shady stuff, and you got preachers that do all sorts of shady stuff, and you got any number of business people that do shady. And I go, what is that all about? And it's literally, they're in a place of a perverted operation of their God-given authority. They're trying to have authority over other people and control other people. And the reality is, they don't have their own shit in order. They don't have their own life they do not have control over their own life. And so in that perversion, they're trying to control other people's lives. And I go, man, if you would get control of your life and handle you.
Well, and that comes from the lack of understanding of, and you summed up the definition of perversion.
Yeah.
It's a perversion of the definition of what love is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, people, you hear horror stories. I'm not going to go into all of them, especially the really messed up ones, but, you hear horror stories of stuff that people have went through.
Yeah.
Abuse after neglect, after abuse after neglect.
Yeah.
And you go, that's not love.
That's not love at all.
But yet, you have these people that are trying to navigate that.
Yeah.
And from, very young ages all the way up to, adults that are 80, 90 years old.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's established in their head and in their heart of going, well, this is what love is. I suffer some fire and ice every day. And it's like, no,
that's not what
that's
love is.
not.
You got one of the definitions there. I want you to read it.
Well, I've actually got a couple of different ones because I looked up the Webster's Dictionary 1828.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of different ones actually here. It says love. It's a transitive verb, those of you who are English majors. The sense is probably to be prompt, free-willing, from leaning, advancing, or drawing forward. And there's a huge thing. I can actually probably throw it up on. Do we have a Facebook page?
For This Is My Brain?
Yeah.
Not yet.
Okay.
The Instagram.
Anyways.
And, we're working on
But this
all
goes
that.
to, there's a huge list of stuff, and I'm not going to read it, but I'm just going to hit the finer points here.
Yeah.
Being still, I'm assuming the transitive verb. Remember, the two definition is to have a benevolence or good will for, and it quotes John 3:16.
Right.
And it goes to love the noun, and definition 1 is affection of the mind, excited by beauty and worth of any kind, or by qualities of an object with communicate pleasure, sensual or intellectual.
Mm-hmm.
And then it goes on to elaborate more with that. And then the definition number 2 of the noun is courtship, chiefly in the phase to make love, that is, to court, to woo, to solicit, union in marriage. Number 3 is patriotism. The attached one has to his or her native land, as in love of country. Number 4,
That
benevolence.
sounds very racist when you say it like that.
Right. But
I mean, how dare you love your country? And
that's the definition.
do you lock your doors at night? Do you, let alone lock them, do you shut your doors at night?
Yeah. Every night.
You should leave them wide open, so if anybody wants to come in, they can come in.
Yeah, I don't think so. But number 4
It's kind of
is
rude.
benevolence, goodwill. And it quotes God is love.
Right.
1 John 4:7. You look it up.
That was what I said.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Number 5 is the object beloved, the lover and the love of humankind.
Yeah.
Number 6, a word of endearment. Trust me, love. That's the example they give.
Yeah.
Number 7, picturesque representation of love. The example they give is such was his form as painters when they show their utmost art or naked love bestow. And I executed that poorly, but you can look this up. Google it.
Right.
All right? GTS.
Or let's DuckDuckGo it or start page it.
Right. Number 8 is lewdness. He is not lolling on the lewd love bed.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 9 is a thin silk stuff. Obsolete. Love is idleness and a kind of violet. Free of love, a plant, the genus Cercis.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So number 9 is actually, they used to have a piece of clothing that was,
Right.
they called it love.
Right. And that's, those are just 9 definitions. And I'm scrolling through here, and there's at least 2 full pages of stuff that you can go through that defines love.
Right.
So,
Well, let's go for this stuff. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 13, right?
right.
And most people know that. Verse 4, love suffers long and is kind.
Right.
This is the New King James Version. Love does not envy. Love does not parade itself. It's not puffed up. It does not behave rudely.
Right.
It does not seek its own. It's not provoked.
Right.
Thinks no evil.
Mm-hmm.
Does not rejoice in iniquity. And we can look up what iniquity really means. But rejoices in the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things.
Right.
Love never fails. And then it goes into, I was beat over the head with this one, that, where there's prophecies, they'll, whether there are prophecies, they will fail. And where there's tongues, they will cease. And where there's knowledge, it will pass away. And they go, see, tongues will cease. So if you speak in tongues, it's got to be. And I go, no, I'm not of the variety that speaks in tongues and looks like a fruitcake and just runs around with snakes. But I do pray in tongues all the time. And there's actually a couple videos on my channel where I talk about it. And,
Right.
but if those all go away, but they literally miss all of the preamble to saying where there's prophecies, they'll fail, where their tongues, they'll cease, and where there's knowledge, it'll pass away.
Right.
They miss the whole part. Love suffers long and it's kind. It doesn't envy. It doesn't parade itself. It doesn't proudly prance around. It's not puffed up. It doesn't behave rudely. It doesn't seek its own. It's not provoked. It doesn't think about evil stuff.
Oh, yeah.
It does not rejoice in iniquity, but rejoices in the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things, and doesn't fail. And I go, That's what we're supposed to be ascribing to. That's what we're supposed to be going for when we love people. So when you walk up and act rudely because some non-believer doesn't know your standard of Christianity, you're a dick.
I have to laugh because the song that just popped into my head was you've seen Night at the Roxbury, correct? Right. But the song that they're playing is What Is Love, Baby Don't Hurt Me.
Yeah.
So I have to laugh because
What is love?
right, baby don't hurt me. But I've sat down with tons of people that have, been in relationships.
Yeah.
And they're like, but that's love. It's supposed to hurt.
No.
And I'm going, wait a minute. If you think that is love,
That's not love.
you might want to have a safe word. Because that's not how any of that
But
works.
it's amazing how much people work themselves up at being religious or
Right.
being, whatever it is. They prop themselves up and they haven't done the basic thing of figuring out who the fuck they are.
Right.
And then loving who they are.
Absolutely.
Accepting who they are. Now,
Right.
are there things I still want to work on? Absolutely, every day.
Right.
I get up and I go, I want, I really want to work on this. I really want to be better at this. I want to be better at that. And then there's other things where I go, you know what? I don't need to work on that
Right.
really at all. And what I mean by that is, okay, number one,
Right.
you know me.
Yeah.
I am a great starter. I'm a visionary.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I can't finish shit.
He's great for coming out of the gate, but not much for stamina.
No, I've already moved on to the next project.
Right.
I'm already moved on. There's a table behind you over there
Right.
that we glued up together that I'm like, okay, that needs to be sanded down, have a nice coat put on it, and I want to do a couple things with it, and I'm like,
Yeah.
it'll sit there.
Yeah.
It'll sit there until I get,
course.
until I get one of the finishers
Right.
that work for me.
Right.
I'll go, hey guys, all right, sand that table.
Right.
Because that table will look awesome as soon as it's done. I already know, I've already seen it.
Right.
I already see it done.
Yep.
So my ambition to go over there and finish it, I'm like, I'm on to 15 other things. I'm already moved on. This table right here, this long bar that I put together,
Yeah.
needs to have another final wet sanding.
And he went to the long shot, which is beautiful.
Yeah. So it needs to have another wet sanding and about 4 more really light coats of poly on it, and it'll be done.
Oh, absolutely.
The 4 coats that are on it right now look good, but you can see that they're thin, right? But I'm like, yeah, we need to pull it out. But you know what? I'm going to use it. And it's my long bar. So there it is. But my point is that my whole point was I'm a great starter, not a great finisher.
Right.
I know this about myself. Okay?
Right.
So what I need to do is continually, I don't need to work on that, is what I'm saying. There's a bunch of things we need to work on.
Right.
I don't need to work on trying to be a better finisher.
Right.
I need to go, you're not a finisher, buddy. So just be a great starter and be a great orator, be able to communicate
Right.
what the finished product looks like because
Exactly.
I already see the finished product.
Yeah.
And then I go, hey, guys, this needs to go here, 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 and here, and it needs to do this.
Right.
That's how that needs to look. Okay, now knock that out.
Well, and having a baseline of being honest with yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're not, when I have other people around me, the thing is, I get people around me that they're not visionary.
Right.
They're not good starters.
Absolutely.
But as soon as you get them on a project,
They're off to the
they're
races.
tearing it up, and I go,
Yeah.
that's what we need. So I'll continue to be me,
Right.
visionary. So there's those areas of your life where you hone in on who you are, right? You begin to recognize that's because you're going to be frustrated. You frustrate the hell out of yourself because you're trying to do a bunch of stuff that you really don't have the aptitude for. Or you can do what you have an aptitude for
Yeah.
and then let other people partner with people. That's what it's about. If we partner together, we
well-
can get this shit done.
And that's what I was talking about, having a baseline, is the fact that, when you have that common denominator, okay, cool. All right, let's check the facts real quick, right?
Yeah.
Okay. If I do something nice for you, does that make you happy? Mm-hmm. Okay. If I cut you open with a chainsaw, you're probably going to bleed red, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna be.
You're not going to be happy about it.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
gonna be a little upset.
Okay, so we're pretty even keeled on that because we're both human beings.
Right.
We identify as males.
I do.
Right.
You do.
Right. Exactly.
So we.
Well, my point being is that we're human beings.
Yeah.
you do something nice for us, it's going to bring a sense of happiness to us. You hurt us, you cut us,
Right.
we're going to bleed red.
Right.
Boom, level playing field.
Yeah.
Okay? That's where you start. We're getting some more stuff going in here. Heather chimes in and says, never used to be a finisher. My struggle is organizing my life. And Heather says, now. Candy chimes in and says, you're doing a great job of purging, Heather.
And that's, part of it is you get organized.
Right. Oh, yeah.
It's sometimes people almost feel for every party. It is a
Whirlwind of cleaning.
Because every time I go into a new venture, I see all the things that are messed up.
Mm-hmm.
You guys walk in, if we're having a party on Saturday, we did, we've done a bunch of them. 4th of July and
St. Patty's Day,
St. Patty's Day, Super Bowl,
Memorial Day.
Yeah. So
Labor
we
Day.
got my big birthday one coming up.
I'm so
sure
excited for that.
I will tear up this place and I'll rearrange something and then everybody will have to help me put it back together.
Of course.
Because that's just me.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, this would look better over here.
Yep.
And this would look better over here.
Yep.
Oh, let's do this over here. And that's just the way I am.
Yeah.
And I've learned to not be upset by that or think that it's a detractor.
Right.
You've got to realize, here's something for everybody out there. Everything in your, let me give the right wording. Everything in your personality.
Right.
Not everything in your life. I started to say everything in your life because there's some shit in your life that you don't need. But everything in your personality, okay?
McDonald's.
Yeah. No. Everything in your personality is inherently good and God-given.
Right. Absolutely.
But not everything is used properly. Just like we were talking about the perversion of
Yeah.
dominion.
Right.
God gave us dominion over the earth.
Right.
And over the things of the animals of the earth, the fish of the earth, all those things, right? But he didn't give us dominion over each other.
Right.
So in the same way, everything in I've come across so many people and they want to stop being who they are, thinking that'll fix the problem. And I'm like, no, and I used to do that. That's why I bring up the finisher part.
Right.
I'm not a finisher.
Right.
I'm a great starter.
Yep.
Okay. And so I used to think, man, I'm horrible. I never finish things. I never, you've lived with me. Were any of my houses finished?
No.
And I go,
It was an ongoing, evolving project.
it was always, yeah, that's true. But it was always, I'm always starting stuff.
Yeah.
And they're like, when are you going to finish that? And I go, you know what? I'm just going to pay somebody to help me because it's already done up here.
Yeah.
And I don't have the aptitude or the desire to finish it
Right.
physically. So what I'm saying is that everything in our personalities is good and God-given.
Yeah.
But not everything is used properly. And that's the problem.
Right.
Is when your personality is twisted. And then what people want to do is they want to get rid of that part of themselves because it's twisted.
Right.
And I go, no, untwist it and find out who you really are.
Right.
There was a story that one of my pastors years ago told, and I loved it. There was a lady, she was a big lady.
Right.
Like 6 foot something and had man hands. I mean, she was a pretty husky woman. And she always felt self-conscious about this. And
Right.
she just was, she was she had a pretty masculine build about
Right.
her, right? And she never felt truly feminine. She never felt like she was
Right.
in her position. And so she's cursing that and she's, has a problem with that. And I go, wow, so finally she took a job, right?
Mm-hmm.
As a care person.
Right.
And one of the requirements as a care person was to lift up people
Oh, yeah.
from their beds, to put them in their wheelchairs,
Yep.
to help them into the bathroom. To
I've
help them
done
do all
home
this stuff.
health care. It's
Okay?
not easy.
And it dawned on her one day when she's doing this.
Yeah.
She's like, I used to hate my body image and who I
Right.
was.
Right.
It wasn't that her, let's say it this way, she wasn't dealing with something that was, that she could necessarily fix. You
Right.
follow what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Like, if your girl's messed up and you go get some braces, that's something, or if you're, Heather's had quite a journey with her weight.
Oh, yeah.
That's one thing that, you can take care of.
Right.
This was literally her body structure.
This is how she was
This
made.
is how she was made.
Right.
Okay. She wasn't like out of shape or anything. So
Right.
so all things being equal, so she's despising her body structure because she didn't see herself in that Barbie doll mold or whatever she was looking for.
That's such bullshit.
It
though.
is. But here's the saving grace. Here's how she came to peace.
Okay.
She got this job as a caregiver, and she's being assigned to different people, and
Right.
she's going in and she's grabbing these people, picking them up, putting them in their wheelchair.
Right.
And all of a sudden it dawns on her. She goes, Lord, you made me for this job.
Right.
So that because I have the strength and the frame and the build
Right.
to be able to pick up these people. Because she already had the demeanor.
Right.
She already had the love
Right.
to love people, but she struggled
Right.
with her her identity and her personality and who she was.
Right.
And once she settled that, she became just this phenomenal, and she's telling her testimony. She's like, I used to hate myself. And it's like,
Yeah.
that's what I'm talking about. There are certain things that you can adjust and change.
Right.
And you take them one day at a time. Don't try
Absolutely.
to take every one of them all at once because you'll fail. Take them one at a time. What's Heather?
It's funny you say that in the chat, and it's a lot of that, support.
Yeah.
Heather says, like a champ, because Candy said you're doing a great job of purging stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Becky chimes in and says, I need to be back on my feet again, because,
Right.
she's going through some
She's
stuff
dealing
right
with some
now.
stuff. Yep.
And Candy chimes in immediately right after she had posted that and said, you are healing, you will be there soon, Becky.
Yep.
And Becky chimes in and says, I'm going stir crazy.
Right.
Well merited. The stuff
Absolutely.
that Becky's going through,
But she's your Pepper Potts. So she's,
Right.
at the same time she's going stir crazy, she's also diving into whatever's put in front of her and finishing it like a champion.
It's
So
not
it's like-
just with me though. I mean, she
Absolutely.
takes stuff on from Heather. She takes stuff on from Nate's tossed some ideas over for graphic design, and just all this stuff that we're doing. She's cataloging Mitch's episodes so we
Right.
can go back through and make sure that somebody talked about this episode. Well, we can go right to that episode and know exactly where it's at.
Right.
And she's doing all of this. Plus, she's doing the images stuff for Survivor Girl podcast.
Yeah.
And it's incredible because, like I said, to give a shout out to all of these people that work behind the scenes.
Yeah.
I love these people
Right.
because, yes, I get to be in front of the camera. I get to go through and present to these people. I get to have a microphone in front of my face. But because of these people,
Yeah.
whom I love with every ounce of my being, that are working the controls, that are doing the
Yeah.
the changes in camera, that are helping me not sound like a third grader because I'm in the mobile office and
Yeah.
I'm trying to go through and write an article for a newsletter,
Right.
and I'm going, okay, boom, you got that? Good.
Right.
I'm on to 27 million other things.
Right.
I'm so thankful and so humbled that I have someone like Becky, who's my Pepper Potts. I have someone like Nate that I got you, boss.
Yeah.
And I love these people with every ounce of my being because they go, I don't want to be in the spotlight. Even though, you got someone like Becky who's a co-host.
Right.
But it's one of those things where it's like, nope, it's too people-y out today. You go do you,
Right.
and I'm gonna chill behind.
She'll be on and do mine.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is hone in on who you are, what
Right.
the strengths of your personalities. Figure that stuff out because that's the key to it.
Yeah.
What's your strengths? What's your weaknesses?
Right.
Hone in on what you're doing. Quit trying to be a jack of all trades. Find out what you're a master of.
Excuse me.
Bless you, bro. Try to figure out what your stuff is and tackle that. Tackle what's, the one, there's a teaching I've done, and we're getting close to our time. We're going to, our time limit we set for ourselves.
Right.
Because you and I can talk for hours. But one of the teachings I've done before is what's your one thing?
Right. Oh yeah.
In the garden, if you go read Genesis, there was one thing, and there's 15 million facets to the story in the garden about the tree. And they go, why is the tree of knowledge of good and evil, even in the garden if the Lord didn't want him to take care of it? And I go, well, you ever met somebody who's a know-it-all
Right.
and their knowledge is always better than yours. They know more than you.
They can always one up you.
Right. That's because it says in 1 Corinthians chapter 8, it says knowledge puffs up, but love builds up. Right?
Right.
So we're not supposed to live off of knowledge.
Right.
Okay? But we still have to cultivate our knowledge because someone will ask advice, right?
Right.
And we'll pull from our knowledge base
Absolutely.
and share knowledge and wisdom,
Right.
and hopefully they get some understanding. Okay? But so the Lord placed the tree of knowledge of good and evil in the garden, and he says, you're not going to eat from this. But people miss the fact that he told them to tend to and cultivate every tree.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
He didn't just say, the tree's going to be here, I don't want you to go near it. He said, I want you to cultivate it.
Yep.
I want you to take care of it, because he said take care of every tree.
Yeah.
Okay?
Absolutely.
So they had to cultivate knowledge. And in our lives, we need to cultivate and tend to our knowledge
Right.
and make it fruitful and prosperous. Why? Because somebody else is going to come into your life and they're going to be fed by your knowledge.
Right.
But you're not supposed to be the knowledge guy who lives off, I know more than I've had a couple people just recently, they're like, I've been in this business for this many years. And I'm like, and you still don't know. And I'm like, then how did you miss this?
Right.
If you're touting your knowledge, how did you miss this?
Right.
Either you did it on purpose or you. Anyways, my point being that they were supposed to tend to it, right? But they weren't supposed to eat of it. So
Right.
this is the one thing that they were given.
Right.
One thing. Mm-hmm. And I go, what are we supposed to do?
Right.
Find out in the same way. There was one thing given to man at the beginning that he was supposed to do.
Right.
And if he did that,
Right.
everything was good.
Right.
If he didn't do that, all hell broke loose in his life.
Right.
Quite literally.
Absolutely.
And I learned from that. The Lord was teaching me this. This is 20 years ago.
Right.
He taught me about this. And he says, son, find out what your one thing is. And I know what my one thing is. I'm not going to share it on this broadcast. We'll get into it another time. I know what my one thing is.
Yeah.
Okay? But I encourage everybody out there, find out what your one thing is.
Right.
What's the one thing above all that you need to tend to? Is it loving people? Is it whatever it is? What is that one thing that you need to tend to?
Right.
And if you do that, it's not like you don't have other issues you need to tackle,
Right.
right? You still need to prune the trees. You still need to, in Adam's case, you still need to prune the trees. You still need to cut the
Right.
grass. You still need to take care of the animals and stuff like that. But if you take care of that one thing,
Yeah.
the rest of that stuff is much easier to take care of because you've dealt with the one thing you need to deal with. What do you got?
That is a brilliant thing that you just said, because Heather chimes in because she was talking to Becky about, Becky said, I'm going stir crazy.
Right.
Heather chimes in and says she's learning how to navigate at a different way through her healing.
Right.
And then she also chimes in and says this is Heather.
Yeah.
We're also evolving through these setbacks. And Candy chimes in and says, great message, perfect starter topic.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you.
So, it's great that here is a prime example of the action, the verb
Yeah.
of love.
Right.
These people, obviously, yes, we all know each other because we follow each other's stuff, we support each other's stuff.
Right.
But it's one of those things that it's on multiple different platforms where it's like, hey, girl, I got you. Or, hey, bro.
Right. Absolutely.
And, it's so funny because regardless of label or tag or background or ethnicity or any of that other temporal stuff,
The distractions.
the distractions.
Yeah.
Hey, let's have a conversation.
Right.
Let's connect with each other. Let's
Right.
be intimate.
Yeah.
Mentally, emotionally,
Right.
spiritually.
Absolutely.
And God forbid you walk up to your brother and give him a big hug.
Dude.
Here's the thing. In science, science has proven that there are so many things that are relayed
In a hug.
physically
Absolutely.
in a hug that words can simply not.
And I've been told, I don't know how many
Right.
times, the Lord says, go hug that person.
Right. Oh
And
yeah.
I seek them out and I go give them a big hug. And you're absolutely right. And children, infants, when they're born,
Yeah.
the number one thing they understand is physical touch.
Right.
I'm not sure if they debunked it, but it seems like I know for sure I heard the story.
Right.
And I want to believe that it was still a true story. It's a horrible story, but there was a story years ago that during the beginning of the communist regime, they did a horrible test.
Mm-hmm.
They took a bunch of infants
Mm-hmm.
at the orphanage and they refused to give them love, and
Most of them died.
most of them died. They
Yeah.
refused to give them physical contact,
yeah.
and most of them died.
I-
And it's like, what the hell, dude? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
so
I remember reading that article and going, "That's fucked up."
right,
Why would you deny another
Yeah.
human being something as simple as physical touch? I mean, we opened the show with shaking his
shaking
hand
hand,
and
fist
fist
bump,
bumping.
absolutely.
You know, and,
Dude, you walked when you showed up, and I want to say this, we're gonna get ready to close here, but you came in yesterday
yeah,
at about 3:00.
yep,
And we've been working since then, leading up to this. You know, we
Right.
stopped to eat, we stopped to
Right.
take care of stuff, but we've been working, other than sleeping and eating, we've been working pretty much nonstop preparing for the show.
Yeah.
And I've been working all week.
right,
We had a slow week at work, and so, I mean, Ben and I were in here Monday. I think it was Monday or Tuesday. I know I started Monday.
Right.
And set up all the equipment and did a couple tests, you know, checked out lighting and checked out everything like that.
great set, by the way.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. And so we've gone back and forth, but you walked in,
Yeah,
and I mean, dude, I met you halfway into the
Right.
man cave, and we had a good hug.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because I haven't seen you in a month or so. We talk on
Yeah.
on a regular basis, but I haven't seen you, and I'm like, dude.
right.
And I'm like, you ready to do this? You're like, dude, I'm fucking ready to do this. So, you know, but that's what it's about, dude, is connect. You got to connect with people. And if you have a hard time connecting with people, find out what the reason is. Because at the end of the day, the old lady with 15 cats gives her cats all personalities and gives them voices so that she can have interaction. Relationship at the end of the day is essential to all of us.
Right.
And if you have difficulty in relationships, it doesn't mean you have to be. Some people are introverted. Some people are very seldom, you know.
We're not doing people thing right now.
And that's fine.
Right.
But she's saying that to another person.
Right.
So there's still relationship. There's still connection.
Well,
You may
that's
not
my
connect
point.
with all 500 people,
Right.
right? You're connecting with those two. And that's great if that's where you're at. But you still have to connect. You still got to be connected with people.
Have a foundation of what that definition is, and
Yeah.
don't be afraid to question it, because maybe you don't have it in the correct perspective.
Yeah.
You know, I look at 16 years of you and I being brothers,
Yeah.
and going, okay, maybe I didn't have that definition correct. What was that definition again? And you and I have both come to each other and go, guess I kind of misunderstood that definition.
Right.
And, you know, in the same token, it's like, now that I have a better understanding of that definition, doesn't mean we don't disagree or agree to disagree,
Right.
but we have a better understanding of, wow, that definition. And you were the person to help me understand that, or I was that person to help you understand it.
Right.
You know, have that common denominator.
Yeah.
Okay? If I do something nice for you, it helps with happiness.
Yeah, absolutely.
I cut you open with a chainsaw, and I don't mean
It's
to be
not very nice.
right. It's not very nice. You're gonna bleed red. Okay, cool. Common denominator.
Absolutely.
Move forward with that.
Yep.
Put your pants on one leg at a time. Cool. So do I.
Exactly.
Love hard. Love on purpose.
Absolutely.
Plain and simple.
Do it with a purpose. Absolutely. So, that's what we're gonna end with. Love. Love yourself. Work on loving you. That's the biggest thing. Everybody out there, work on loving you. That's when you do that. It's amazing when you're good to yourself and you're good to the people around you. But be good to yourself first. You know, no one ever hated his own body. When you're good to yourself and good to the people around you, it's
Right.
amazing how much easier life is and how much more enjoyable life is. So I am Jeremy Scott Gibbs. This is my brain. This is the earwig that crawled into my brain tonight, Mr. Tony Bradley. Wormed around. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. It was a pleasure having you tune in. And for those of you that tune in later, the rebroadcast, I appreciate you all and look forward to our next broadcast.
One thing before we
Yeah,
sign
so
off,
sign off.
we got a couple of people blowing it up real quick.
Okay.
And it's funny because as this has gone on, there's been more people listening, which is incredible. Thank you guys
Absolutely.
for
That's
you know
an honor,
like,
yeah.
share, subscribe, hit that notification. This is my brain on YouTube. But Heather chimes in and says, "Great show. Looking forward to the next one. Great premiere."
Thank you.
Becky chimes in and says, "Great show. Looking forward to many, many more."
Yeah.
Hope is incredible.
She is.
I love Hope.
Yeah.
So I jumped in a little late to the show, but I'm really loving this. Definitely looking forward to more. Dawn just chimed in and said, "Love you guys."
I love you too, Don.
So,
love all you guys, Heather
yeah.
and Becky and Hope and Don, everybody that's joining in, Candy. Just love you guys, and it's always an honor and a pleasure to talk to people because people don't have to listen to you,
Right.
and so when they tune in, you know, it's. I used to say this in service all the time that I love sharing and teaching because just like the garden hose, right? If the garden hose isn't being used, then it's stale and stagnant. Everybody's turned on the hose, right? And you've got to wait for the nice cold water to flow through. You got to get rid of the hot water first, right?
Oh yeah.
And I used to say to people all the time, I'd say, you know what? The hose gets the fresh water first.
Right.
The fresh water, the hose out there baking in the sun. But once you turn the spigot on, the hose gets the refreshment before it gets to you. It cools it down, you know.
Right.
And I go, I'm the hose. I'm watering things, right?
Right.
So you're enjoying the fresh water, but realize I got to sample it first.
Right.
And so thank you for allowing me to share because
Absolutely.
that's where my fulfillment comes in, is
Right.
being able to share it and share my heart, share my brain. So with that, I am Jeremy Scott Gibbs. This is my brain. This is Mr. Tony Bradley. Thank you for co-hosting with me today. Many more. You're pretty much going to be a permanent fixture around here, and we'll have many more people sit in third and fourth chair with us. But
Absolutely.
thank you, my friend.
Yes.
Excellent show. And that's where Nate comes in.
Roasting potatoes.
That would be great.